What is up? What is happening? Minivan Patton here, and gonna make a video discussing event that I had recently that I went through, Zine Fest here in Tokyo. But that's not the only thing that's been going on. It's been quite a strange time. I'm from Los Angeles, and there's been these fires going on, pretty much bringing the entire city to the ground. And I'm here in Tokyo and have just been trying to live my life despite these crazy circumstances going on. And it's been this kind of strange feeling like I'm being pulled in two directions between this sadness, this melancholy, this grieving that I'm feeling towards my home city and much of my hometown. And it's been just incomprehensible. But then also, I'm here in Japan and I'm experiencing some of the coolest stuff happening in my life. I published my second book on Amazon called When the Sky Opens and the Answers Shimmer. I'm so excited about it. Been working on it throughout my entire time in Japan, and I'm just so proud of it. It documents my summer in Europe a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago. I worked at a youth hostel in Lisbon, Portugal, and then on a farm in Calabria, Italy. And that's for 3 months. And throughout my entire time in Japan, I've been working on this book. And it just blows me away that I started it right when I got here and I'm finishing it right as I'm leaving. As I'm leaving Japan in February next month. But I finished the book and it's beautiful. I'm so proud of it. It, I hope, can give people hope right now. Yeah, I hope it can inspire people to go for their dreams, to do something new, to have new experiences that really help you see the type of person you are and help you discover what you want to do with your life. And it's really just a story about an adventure that I had. And it's lighthearted and it's also deep and mulls over big thoughts of friendship and family and friends and love and success and just what it all means. And I grapple with these big ideas while I'm on this trip. And so I finished that and I published it on Amazon. I'll put the link in the show notes. And then, as I said before, I just did the Zine Fest this past weekend. And a Zine Fest is where, like, a zine is like a mini magazine. Mine wasn't so mini, it's like a full length magazine. And I want to just describe kind of the process that I went through of making it and what it meant to me and just what the Zine Fest was like. Um, but it's interesting, like this. I've been feeling pretty strange these past couple of weeks, or it's week and a half, as these fires have been burning in LA because it's like it's so sad and like I said, it's incomprehensible. I really don't know what to make of it. Many of my friends have lost their homes, childhood homes, the town, the Palisades where I grew up. It's right next to where I grew up in Malibu. I went to art classes there and I had friends there and stuff that pretty much entirely burned down. And then much of Hollywood and Pasadena and stuff, just these parts of LA, they're gone. It's just bewildering. And I'm just having these pretty incredible, monumental life um, accomplishments at the same time that these fires are going on, and it made me think of this quote that I heard a couple of years ago, or maybe it was like a year ago or something. But when something else crazy was going on, it might have been other fires in LA or war breaking out in Ukraine, something big was happening, but I just felt this confliction of like, how do we continue going about our lives despite this insane circumstances happening? And what are we supposed to do? How do we continue? Like, for me, I'm pursuing an artistic career where I'm writing and doing photography and stuff. It's like, how do I pursue this stuff while this insane circumstances are happening? And like, is it naive of me? Is it selfish? Am I just a privileged kid who's not affected by this and I can pursue this stuff? Like, is that what's happening? Even though the world is in such pain and the world is hurting and there's these things that we can't control that are just take over our lives. But I came across the speech by C.S. Lewis, who is most famous for writing the Chronicles of Narnia, but he's also a theologian and a big Christian and quite outspoken and stuff. And not that I'm like very religious or anything, but he's an amazing writer, and the speech is incredible. And he talks about just pretty much what I'm talking about, how we deal with these bigger than life occurrences that happen, fires and wars and things. How do we go about our lives despite that? And he gave this talk at the Church of St. Mary the Virgin in Oxford in 1939. So that's right when World War II broke out. I'm just going to read part of the speech where he talks about how, he's at this school, Oxford, and he's talking about how these students are pursuing lives of historians and artists and writers. And how do you do that when a war has just broken out and you don't even know if you're going to be alive to see your work through? How do you continue? And he says, human life has always been lived on the edge of a precipice. Human culture has always had to exist under the shadow of something infinitely more important than itself. If men had postponed the search for knowledge and beauty until they were secure, the search would never have begun. We are mistaken when we compare war with normal life. Life has never been normal. Even those periods which we think most tranquil, like the 19th century, turn out, on closer inspection, to be full of crisis, alarms, difficulties, and emergencies. Plausible reasons have never been lacking for putting off all merely cultural activities until some imminent danger has been averted or some crying injustice put right. But humanity long ago chose to neglect those plausible reasons. They wanted knowledge and beauty now and would not wait for the suitable moment that never come. Periclean Athens leaves us not only the Parthenon, but significantly the funeral oration. The insects have chosen a different line. They have sought first the material welfare and security of the hive, and presumably they have the reward. Men are different. They propound mathematical theorems in beleaguered cities, conduct metaphysical arguments in condemned cells, make jokes on scaffold, discuss the last new poem while advancing to the walls of Quebec, and comb their hair at Thermopylae. This is not panache, it is our nature. So I could walk through that a little bit, because it's quite lofty language, but plausible reasons have never been lacking for putting off all merely cultural activities until some imminent danger has been averted or some crying injustice put right. So he's saying there's always been reasons to put off these things that we see as merely cultural activities, like writing, photography, pursuing the arts, pursuing what lights our soul on fire. Putting these things off until things are secure, until we're safe, until we have the luxury to be able to pursue these things. But he says, humanity long ago chose to neglect those plausible reasons. They wanted knowledge and beauty now and would not wait for the suitable moment that never come. There is no suitable moment, he's saying. They would not wait until we are secure to pursue these things. You must pursue them despite whatever is going on in the world, because there's always something. And he goes down the line. The insects, they have sought first the material welfare and security of the hive, and that has its own reward. To pursue being secure, the welfare of the community, the group, to be safe. Of course, that has its reward, but that can only take you so far. He says men are different. They propound mathematical theorems in beleaguered cities, conduct metaphysical arguments in condemned cells, make jokes on scaffold, discuss the last new poem while advancing on the walls of Quebec, and comb their hair at Thermopylae. This is not panache, it is our nature. And that you just have beautiful visuals of just these descriptions of men in war being locked up and still conducting metaphysical arguments and mathematical theorems like in these crumbling cells, or making jokes with each other while doing the most dangerous jobs and climbing buildings and being on the side of a scaffold, discussing a poem while advancing on the walls of Quebec in some ancient war, and combing their hair at Thermopylae, which is, I believe, the stand of the 300, the Greek soldiers. The Greeks and the Persians, they're still combing their hair. They still care what they look like. They're human beings, and that stuff is still important because that is life. There is so much that we can't control. Everything. We can't control what happens to us in life, but still, we must find a way to carry on. It's not that you could separate. I will pursue my dreams once I'm secure, once I'm safe, once there's nothing going on in the world, because if not this, it's going to be the next thing. There's always something going on. And of course, it's tragic. It is fucking devastating. I had therapy a couple days ago, and my therapist is telling me that to treat this as like a death, even though I'm not there in LA. I will be back in a month, and I'm definitely nervous and scared and depressed to kind of go back to this wasteland that is my hometown. He says treat it like you're grieving somebody's death, because that's what's happening. You are grieving a part of your childhood, part of you. LA is part of me, you know. It's where I grew up, it's where I get much of my personality and my culture from, and it's not something you can just understand. Like, how did this fire just torch the entire city? And like a death isn't something that is easily understandable. Maybe if it's a long time coming, you know, more so, but if it's a sudden death, you can't understand these things. And despite it, you still may find a way to carry on with life. And there's going to be times where you'll be struck by the devastation of it and the sadness, and that's okay. Part of the grieving process is not pushing away those emotions, but allowing them and embracing them and honoring them when they do come, and then carrying on. And it's the same thing with this fire, with anything that's happening. If I spend all my time focused on how devastating this is and how sad this fire is, it's going to consume my entire life. I can grieve for it. I could be sad about it. I could write and share my emotion and feel it. But I also must find a way to carry on, because there is so much good happening in my life, and I need to be proud of that. I should be, and I want to be. It's okay to feel conflicted about it, you know? It is what it is. These kind of things are always happening. If it's not the fires here, it's the genocide happening in the Middle East, or it's the war in Europe. And the world is not a perfect place, nor is it black and white. These things happen in constant ebbing and flowing and flux. And we can't run from these things. We can't fight them. We can face them as we pursue meaning, and as we continue to seek the light in the world. Because It's times like this where we need art. We need the things that make us happy, the pursuits that give us meaning despite how we hurt, the things which light us up. It's okay to be sad, but we must keep moving forward. As human beings, it's what we do. We are resilient, and we will always find a way to push on and move forward. And family, love, friendship, the things which light us up, like for me, which is writing and creating this magazine and do my books, these are the things which sustain us and which keep us alive and which give us hope, no matter how dark the world may seem. It is our duty to pursue these things and to stay on the path, no matter what is happening around us, no matter how loud the noise becomes, because there's always noise. If it's not this, it's the presidential elections. If it's not America crumbling, you know, this, it's life. This is the way that the world is. Instead of focusing on what we can't control, we may simply place our focus and our attention on our passion and on the things which give us energy instead of drain us of it. So we will find a way to carry on. We will laugh through this darkness, these difficult times. We'll cry through them too. Like I cried at therapy, just talking about this shadow, this weight that I feel of trying to pursue this life despite these hardships and this shit going on. But I was crying, I was crying, and then I was laughing about the same thing later on. I thought I was going blind at the gym a few days ago. Like I felt so overwhelmed that it just hit me. And I got kind of lightheaded and I sat down and I thought that I was going blind in my left eye. And I like was preparing to call for help, like to ask somebody, even though I was Japanese. I was like trying to type it out on my phone and I was keeping my eyes open because I shut my right eye and then I was like 10% visibility in my left eye. And I was like, oh my God, I think my brain is doing something right now where I'm like so overwhelmed where it feels like I'm losing vision. And that was pretty scary. But I breathed through it and a couple minutes later it came back. And I started crying in therapy as I told my therapist about that. But then later on, I was laughing about just how absurd the situation is. Doesn't mean it wasn't real and it wasn't scary, but I was like, yeah, I thought I was going blind. And I was laughing about it. And that's what we do. That's who we are as human beings. The Zine Fest. It was awesome. Me and my girlfriend, she makes these crocheted hoods. I'll show you one right here. She makes these hoods that are all handmade and wool, and she kind of just starting this business where she's doing that called Cocoons by Coco, and she's making hats and stuff. And then I'm gonna grab the magazine. I made this Citoyen du Monde, which is the name of my newsletter. Here we go. It's a little blurry in here, but flash through it real quick here. Pretty neat. And I've been working on this thing for a few months. I had the idea when I was back in LA in September. I'm like, yeah, I think I want to have my own magazine one day. And it'll have like my stories, and because I gained so much out of writing my first book, Eras of Youth. I just love like putting it together and having the photography and the travel stories and the fonts and the white space and stuff. I think a magazine is where I can like create this kind of stuff on a smaller scale, but it'll be articles, photography, um, poetry, and just more of like a theme, and pump them out easier than a book. And it's also a place where it's more artistic, I think, than the book in a way where it's just more of a blank canvas. But I probably would have been sitting on it for a few months at about 85% done if Coco didn't kind of push me to do the Zine Fest, because like I had the idea and I was planning on finishing my second book and then getting back to this, and I'd probably do it when I was back in the United States. And I looked up a Zine Fest, like might as well. Is there one happening in Tokyo? This was like a week and a half ago. It's like, yep, January 11th, Zine Fest. It's like in a week. And I was like, I don't think sounds cool, but I don't want to put the pressure on myself. I'm not even done with the thing yet. I don't know how I'd print it, stuff like that. And she's like, really? Like, I think we got to do it. This is an incredible opportunity. We're in Japan. This would be so cool to do it, like to finish your time here with this monumental experience. I'm like, fuck it. Let's do it. And I signed up for the thing. And that is what forced me, in a way, to create the magic of this thing. It was kind of the second big theme I want to impart here, is that putting yourself on the hook has tremendous benefit when you want to get something done. And by putting yourself on the hook, I mean signing up for something, going public and saying you're going to do this thing, putting it out into the open, where at that point you don't really have a choice anymore. Like I could have sat on this thing for the next 3 months and been fiddling with it, making it perfect, but I had a 1 week deadline now, so I had to get it done. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I just knew that there was a way. And it was overwhelming and it was awesome. Put the pedal to the metal and got the fucking thing done. And it made me cut out kind of the unnecessary stuff. Like I trimmed a few articles and photos, and honestly, that's always a good thing, to cut out more, trim the fat. I figured out a way how to do it, how to print it. I just found out there's Kinkos in Japan. That was awesome. And it turned out like I went there in person, printed it on this beautiful, like speckled paper. It's like high quality and has like some color in it. And god damn it, I love this thing. And I just made 5 of this first edition. So it's like the Burning Man story in there, and it fires me up. And without just signing up for this thing and just saying, yeah, I'm gonna do it, um, I don't know if I would have. Well, I definitely wouldn't have had this experience of being in Tokyo and being surrounded by other creative people. There's like 500 different vendors, so like 250 booths, um, tables set up, and each one had like 2 different vendors, and people could sell anything. So like I was selling Eras of Youth, my first book, and then had this magazine and had some stickers for Dare to Dream podcast. Coco had her hoods and her hats, and just being surrounded by other people just creating like such a wide range of magazines and like interesting things. It was so cool, and just feeling like I belonged there. Like I was a part of this community of creators where each one, we were sharing a piece of our souls in this experience, and people were actually interested. Sold 2 magazines and a book, and got a lot of interest. A lot of people came by and just like, flicked through the entire thing. And I will always have the experience of finishing my time in Japan with doing a zine festival in Tokyo. And like, that is why I'm here. This is what I came to Tokyo to do, to fucking make this magazine. And the first one, volume 1, The theme is dust, desert, and space. And dust starts with dust, and it's like the Burning Man story. It's a dust, Burning Man story. And then desert is photography that I took a couple of years back in the southwest of America. And space is, sorry, I did a poor job flipping through here, but space is a couple articles from Tokyo and a poem from Osaka. Because I don't know, I like this theme, dust, desert, and space. I've just like that's kind of felt like my life has been something that I've been interested in and exploring the past few months since Burning Man and being back in Japan. So, anyways, like just it's so cool to me that I did the thing, I got it done. So the lesson here perhaps is if you have something that you want to do, you don't know how you're going to do it, put yourself on the hook. Say, sign up for something, sign up for a speech contest or I don't know what, but put yourself on the hook to make yourself figure out a way to get it done. Give yourself less time than you think you need. Like, if I were to give myself time to finish this thing, I'd probably give myself like a month to sign up for the Zine Fest, figure out a way to get it printed. But when I had only a week, it forced me to just like, just to get it done. And we think these things have to be perfect, that, we can't put something out into the world until it's 100%. But it's just not the case. Like, the imperfections are what make these things beautiful. They are what make the art beautiful. Like, this thing has imperfections. There's, in the back here, there's the font's a little askew and the color's a little off, but I love it because of that. And this will always be the first imperfect edition that I finished in Tokyo. I got done and I sold at Zine Fest Tokyo 2025. This will also be the time where I figured out a way to carry on through these insane fires. And that's kind of the message today, folks. There will always be something happening in our lives, in the world at large, in our lives individually. I'm just learning to let everything come, to affect me as it may, to flow through me. But as I told my therapist, if I'm alive, I'm going to be fine. And if I'm not, it doesn't matter anyway. It's going to be fine. We're going to make it. No matter what, we're going to make it. All right, y'all. Much, much love. I appreciate you. Hope you're safe. Everything's okay. And we'll see ya.